Welcome back to Disc Media, a startup story, the podcast where I take you along our journey of starting Disc Media from the ground up. You get to hear all about our challenges and accomplishments as we either grow Disc Media or go bust. Either way, you're going to have a front row seat to hear it all. And along the way, we're going to have some special guests who share with us their wisdom and insights and what helped them along their startup journey to success. So get ready as we get into it and try to help those get better at what they do. And welcome back, everybody, to Disc Media, a startup story, the podcast where we take you behind the scenes of starting Disc Media from the ground up. So as we covered last week, we talked about the dashboard that I built, which got some really good traction. When I posted the video about that, got some really good feedback. Some people liked it. I think they enjoyed the fact that you can tap into this data and post that kind of stuff on your website. The other thing that people really responded to last week was the recap I did on how I boosted, with only $20, 2,000 views and 300 subs in 24 hours on YouTube. So if you didn't catch that, definitely go back and check that out. It's a very interesting strategy and it has a few caveats to it. There's some cautionary notes there. But at the end of the day, if you're looking for some quick numbers, there's definitely a way to get it. But again, there's an asterisk there, so just be cautious. All right, so as we do each week, let's go ahead and jump into the numbers here real quick. First, we're going to take a look at LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, we've had 1,654 post impressions. We've added 10 followers, 41 LinkedIn subscribers to the newsletter. And the newsletter there mirrors the newsletter that you sign up for at the Daily Pitch. So if you go to either place, please do check it out. Enjoy recapping the articles that we put out there and putting out the newsletter, and would appreciate it if you guys check that out. On the newsletter itself, we actually have 281 subs. We got 10 new subs so far this month, and only 2 people decided not to continue with us, which is fine. I understand, but a few more would be great. All right, TikTok. 1,900 views so far and counting. We had 8 likes on some of the video content we put out there. 3 comments actually responded back to a commenter who was asking about that YouTube strategy that I talked about earlier. And I replied to that. So hopefully you saw that. If you guys do have questions, send them to me any way you see this content, the newsletter, if you see it on the website, if you see it in a video, if you've got questions you want to ask, feel free to give me a shout out. As it relates to YouTube, 2,200 views so far, 18.8 hours of view time, which is amazing. 303 subs so far, so that's not too shabby there. When it comes to the podcast, last little bit here, we've had 14 hours of listen, 67 plays. So it's really, it's starting to pick up steam again, which is great. We have some really good stuff coming up in the next few weeks. This is probably going to be the last podcast I do for maybe a couple weeks by myself, because as you hear in our intro, we talk about having special guests who share their insights along the way. We have a few special guests coming up. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to not just doing this by myself for a little bit and asking some really good questions of some entrepreneurs that are out there. So this is going to be a lot more, I think for me at least, fun and engaging as we continue moving forward. Facebook, looking at the dashboard, 100 posts. We've had video. Now the video views I didn't pull into the data on the dashboard. We actually have 173 of those with 153 reach. Something though that I noticed about that reach number, this is not a cumulative number as I expected it would be. I believe what's happening is it's taking a snapshot by day, but I don't know that it's a roll up quite yet. And why I say that is because when I go to Instagram, my Instagram reach is like 1,075 with fewer posts. So I got to dig in. I think my data is a little off there. It's not pulling something correctly. So when I get a moment, I will go take a look at that. But if you guys want to check out some of our latest articles and things that we've put out there, feel free to jump on the dashboard and you can see the history of things and hit what's popular. All right, so next we will transition into articles that we covered over the last several days, really since the last time we met with each other here. And we do this because the foundation of what we are building here at Disc Media is, well, the Daily Pitch. I should say Disc Media is our company. What we're building at the Daily Pitch is a repository of some evergreen content that is meant to help people get better at what you do. And so each week what we try to do is put out articles that speak to people at different levels in their professional career. So here are a few things that we covered this week. If you like them, please share them. Go to the website, click on the link, share the article with someone you know or you love or you care about, or maybe you don't care about them. I don't know, but share it anyways. Sign them up for our newsletter and don't tell them about it. Don't tell them you did it. That'll, maybe do it for Christmas. That would be awesome. Make it a gift. Anyway, what did we cover last week? So first article we got into was authentic leadership at scale, building personal brands without losing credibility. So this is one of those articles, I think, that touches on the fact that leaders are more and more under pressure to be visible and credible. Part of the reason why is that people are looking for leaders who are authentic, self-aware, have moral perspective, have really good balanced decision-making, and are relatable and open. And so by focusing on these things, when we talk about scaling our brand as an individual, as a leader, it's about capturing all of those values and those traits and making sure that people understand who we as leaders are in an organization. So this article kind of goes through some operating principles, how to do that, maybe ways of also capturing the decisions that you've made and kind of chronicling those and things that people can kind of dive into. This sounds maybe for some a little self-centered, and it's really not intended to do that. What it's meant to do is try to help people better understand who you are and give them a better sense for what's important to you. All right, and kind of dovetailing on that a little bit, this next article from LinkedIn to the Boardroom, building personal brand that drives influence. And this again is really around building not just your professional skill set and the accomplishments that you are able to do in the workplace, but also who you are as a brand. No longer are people really kind of looking for leaders that are just, a smiling face. They're looking for people who have digital presence. They're looking for people who are authentic, and also looking for people who are an authority and an authority figure on the things that you're doing and that are important to you. Using social media as a way of building your reputation, building your expertise, and showcasing that so that people really understand the value that you're not only bringing to the organization, but to those around you and your leadership style. For many people, reputation is a form of currency, right? And so when they see a leader who is active in things like social media, making LinkedIn posts, posting digital stories, posting reels or things of that nature on Facebook or Instagram, it just creates a more genuine kind of grounded personality that people can better understand. But one of the reasons that I am so keen on ensuring that you build your personal brand, even if it's a sidestep to the company that you work for, is that there's no guarantee that you're going to be with that company all the time. And in the event you make a decision to move on or move somewhere else, or the company makes that decision for you, it's important that you have kind of a portfolio to reflect on, look back on, and use as a promotional vehicle to help land you into that next place, or as you get into that next place, give people the opportunity to learn who you are and the kind of branding and content that you find interesting. So overall, just a good article, I think, on how to build brand and how to drive influence both within your organization and maybe some activities that you have outside of it. All right, so this next article is a little bit more focused on small business. It's small business finance, cash flow clarity in volatile markets. And even though we've been a couple years now out of COVID, we're still not out of the woods yet. The market is still very volatile. We're still in, I would say, a little bit of a recovery place right now. Yes, the economy is getting bigger, it's getting better, but it's also still challenged. And so, as a small business, it's important to plan for your cash flow and ensure that you've got enough to get you through the continuing challenging times until we get to a better place and feel a little bit more comfortable about things. So this article focuses on cash flow management as your number one survival skill in small business. That profit is an accounting figure, right? And profit is the luxury of running a business well. Looking at things like 13-week forecasts, looking at early warning signs around payroll, taxes, seasonal cycles, and just overall having a strategic plan about the revenue that's coming into your company, how you're managing cash, and ultimately how you're trying to work to retain as much profit as you can to be a sustainable and viable business as you continue forward. So if these things interest you, by all means, please check out that one. And one more article still on the small business theme, focusing on small business growth from local roots to digital reach. And this is really about how small businesses transition from being small into a realm of kind of global reach. And, here at Disc Media, we try to practice this global reach as best we can. I mentioned to you guys earlier, as we started this podcast, around the experiment I did to grow our social media reach. And it worked in a part of the world that I think is fraught with opportunity, but at the same time, is it the right strategic opportunity for us? We're all about leveraging what we know how to do and leveraging tools around social media and media in and of itself to grow our reach. It's kind of what we chronicle on this podcast, how we grow that reach. And, if you're not in the media space, if you're not a business that is always focused on social media, but you're growing in popularity, you've got a grassroots following, how do you make that transition from being a local business to being something more broad, right? And it could be more broad within your county, within your state, within your region of the country, or globally across the world. In either case, this is an article that really kind of dives into how to look at that growth, manage that growth, and position yourself to hopefully take on bigger, more visible tasks as you move ahead. All right, and continuing our theme on small business, we're looking at customer loyalty. So customer loyalty 3.0, turning one-time buyers into lifelong advocates. Customer satisfaction is great. It's good to satisfy your customers, but really what you look for, what you desire is loyalty, right? Because when you have loyalty in your customers, you have almost built-in revenue. They're going to be coming back. They're going to be spending more money. They're going to be telling their friends, and hopefully all of those things are going to grow your business in a positive way. When you lose a customer, trying to get them back, it's expensive. So when you can build loyalty, when you can have multiple offerings for your customers, when you can make that emotional connection with them and drive sales through those relationships, through that connection, it really does a lot to help the overall and long-term profitability of your business. So this article dives into that. And if this is something that is of interest to you, I highly encourage you to go out to dailypitch.news. Click on the link, check out this article. If you like it, share it with a friend. We'd appreciate that. All right, and for the very last article, this comes to us from one of our guest contributors, John Pabone. We've interviewed John on the podcast. John has a specialty in the area of greenwashing. And if you're not familiar with greenwashing, it is when corporations go out and say they're doing these wonderful, great things, but on the backside, maybe not always so much. And so John does a really good job of capturing insights and things where companies could be doing a better job or just living up to some of the things that they said they would be doing. And in this post that he had on LinkedIn, From Candy to Controversy, the billionaire Mars Family and Cocoa Child Labor, gets into a little bit about how the Mars family used to be one of the richest families in the world, still multi-billionaires, and they do good for a lot of communities. There was, however, a promise that they had made a little while back about they were focused on ending child labor in West Africa related to cocoa sourcing. And unfortunately, hasn't necessarily panned out as well as we had all hoped. And so John makes a post about this. If you're interested, I highly suggest that you check out this article. Also, follow John on LinkedIn. He's got some great stuff. He's always putting some really interesting content out there. So definitely check out John, check out his book, check out his website. Really, really good guy. And fighting the good fight to make sure we're all doing things, on the good side. So thanks, John, for that. We greatly appreciate it. All right, so with the articles out of the way, one of the things I wanted to get into was the Daily Pitch Academy. So if you haven't heard, the Daily Pitch Academy is a learning platform that we've built at the Daily Pitch. And the idea is, so the bigger model of what we're trying to do here is make learning, business insight, business information accessible to people at all kinds of different levels. Whether you're just starting out in business and you're just looking to learn about the topic, if you are a middle manager or you're growing in your career and you're looking for more strategic information and insights to really kind of help you in your business or help you be a better leader, all the way to being an executive leader and kind of getting to a point where maybe you need a coach, maybe you need somebody to consult to help you on a higher level, and really hitting people at all levels that you can kind of come into business at. So one of the things I've always talked about when I first started this thing was building a learning platform. And what I'm seeing in the news is really pushing me further and further toward the fact that I think I'm on the right track here. Just recently, I was watching Mike Rowe do an interview, and he was talking about how there is new data coming out showing there is an incredible decline in the favorability or the positive impression that people have on going to school, on going to college. And a lot of that's driven by cost. Some of it's driven by some of the social aspects of things today. Some of it's driven by the fact that we're just seeing, when I was growing up, when I was in school, it was so put upon us. So the impression was so that if you didn't go to college, you weren't going to get a good job. If you didn't go to college, you weren't going to have a successful career. You weren't going to have a successful life. And even worse, what was kind of put upon our young, impressionable minds was that if you didn't do this, then you were going to be doing a heavy labor job and you were going to be miserable the rest of your life. And what's unfortunate about that is that it really undercuts a lot of the work that people do, a lot of the very important work that people do across the world, where maybe you don't have a college degree, but you have a skill, right? And you can build. And keep in mind, at the time when I was growing up, there was no such thing as the internet. There was no such thing as social media marketing manager. There was no such thing as influencers. You grew up and you maybe wanted to work for a company, you wanted to be a doctor, you wanted to be a lawyer, you wanted to do something reputable. It was not common to run into people who were entrepreneurs or ran a startup. And in fact, I think, for a lot of people, if you heard somebody was an entrepreneur, it usually meant they didn't have a job, right? It was usually like nobody looked at it as a means of saying, wow, an entrepreneur, wow, you're doing your own thing. That's amazing. That's great. For the most part, if you were trying to run a business or trying to start something, and keep in mind, we didn't have Facebook or LinkedIn, we didn't have Instagram posts. The only way to really market it was to go through the traditional media means of doing that, which could be very tough and very difficult. So, growing up, if you didn't have the skill to do those things, then college was probably the best option you had to get a higher paying job that was going to maybe take you out of the circumstances you have. Fast forward 30 years and everything has changed, right? All of that is different. And so today, What we are faced with is the fact that maybe people don't feel like they have to go to college anymore. Maybe people feel like because you have the world's information at your fingertips, you can just go research what you don't know on your own. With the emergence of AI coming in, maybe you have a coach and a mentor in AI that can give you the kind of feedback or prompt you to explore things in a way maybe you didn't think about before. The reality is that there are many, many more tools today than we had when I first came out of high school. And with that, there's a tremendous increase in the amount of resources people have that they can tap into to do something with. I've been teaching for 20 years. And in that time, I've seen a lot of evolution. In the last couple semesters, the increased amount of people who are using AI for turning in assignments, there's not a class anymore that I teach where that isn't the case. It started with maybe one or two students. Now it seems to be the majority of students all the time kind of doing that. So with these tools and the cost that it takes to go to school, many, many more people are kind of second guessing and thinking about whether or not this is the right thing for them or whether or not it's even the right thing for them right now. What we're starting to see in the data, what we're starting to see in the trends is that more and more people are looking for education, but they're not necessarily looking for it through traditional means. Maybe they're looking for certificate programs. Maybe they're looking for one-on-one applications that give them a little bit more individual focused support on the things that they want to learn. Regardless of how they're approaching the education, it's not that education is going away. It's not that the desire to want to learn things is going away. It's the product itself. It's that people are transitioning away from the traditional product and looking for things that are new, that are different, that are more accessible. And all of this is why I think what I'm trying to do here with This Media and the Daily Pitch, and now with the Daily Pitch Academy, is kind of going to meet a lot of people where they want to be. What I'm trying to do is take my 20 years of academic experience, my over 30 years of experience in consumer product goods, and bring all of that into a platform to help people who are interested in learning about business from this tool. So what I've got right now on the platform is just a class on social media marketing. And I kind of put it out there to pilot things, which is why I'm giving it away for free if you go to dailypitch.news. But I'm also breaking that out into smaller micro classes because I do think that maybe not everybody wants to sit for 8 modules and learn something for that duration of time. Maybe people want to learn in smaller chunks and smaller pieces. So what I'm trying to do is not just build the platform with content that I think people would be interested in, but try and find ways to deliver it to them in a manner that I think is going to help them learn and engage. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. Also, to do that and make it affordable so that people don't go into debt just trying to learn something. So initially what I thought I was going to do is give everybody a tour of the site, but then I realized, it's probably not going to come over well on the podcast if I do that. And then also, I really want you guys to go out there and check it out. Like I said, register. There's a code on dailypitch.news to take a course for free. If you go through it, one of the things you'll see is that everything is laid out really well in modules. There are videos that kind of go along with each lesson. There's some tools that you can use to kind of practice on your own. And then in addition to that, every time you complete a module, you get a certificate for the module. And then when you complete the entire program, you get a certificate for that as well. So really hoping that you guys dig in, take a look. Hopefully you enjoy it. And, I'd be anxious to hear for those who are able to get in and take it, what you think about it. One of the things too, because I think learning, you need a little bit of interaction with that. And down the road, by the way, we are going to be doing some hosted courses as well. So courses that you guys can sign up for, courses where we have multiple people that you can actually talk to. And again, affordability is key. So, these aren't going to be very expensive things, but they're going to be opportunities for people to get together, learn together, have dialogue with each other. And in the interim, until we get to that point, when you are taking a lesson, there's a little question mark in the lower right-hand corner. If you click on that question mark, you can actually send me a question about the module that you're learning about. So you can send me an email. I'll respond to you. It all works pretty cool. So anyway, if you guys get a chance, please check out Daily Pitch Academy. It's the learning platform for the Daily Pitch. We're trying to pull all of this stuff together and make learning a little bit more fun, make it engaging, make it interactive, make it affordable. And again, these classes are designed by people like me. I have a PhD in business. Other people that are helping out and contributing and chiming in and giving feedback, they too either have decades of business experience or I should say, that experience along with master's degrees or PhDs. My advisory board, for the most part, is made up of people who have PhDs or have been senior leaders as CEOs and things like that for organizations. So really appreciate it if you guys check that out. Would love to hear what you think about it. And if anything doesn't work, if anything, like you run into any problems or anything, shoot me a note. You can always reach me at ben@discmedia.com or reach out to the show, podcast@discmedia.com. Either way, it'll get to me and we'll help you out. So anyway, that is the wrap for today. I appreciate you guys checking out this episode. Please check us out next week. We're going to have some special guests coming in. Really looking forward to it. Going to have a few coming in over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, looking forward to it. Appreciate you guys checking this out. Appreciate you hanging in. Love all the positive comments and feedbacks you guys have been leaving me. It's good stuff. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me making myself want to do this. So that's always nice. Thanks again. Have a good one, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening to Disc Media, A Startup Story. This podcast was produced and edited by Ben Olmos and is a production of Disc Media Corporation. If you're interested in learning more about anything you heard on this episode, please reach out to us at podcast@discmedia.com. You can also get more information about this and other episodes or information about our guests by checking out dailypitch.news, our business and insights publication focused on helping managers, leaders, and entrepreneurs get better at what they do.